In today's video, I'm checking out one of the most important security features that comes with Microsoft 365. Defender for Cloud Apps is absolutely critical at not only protecting your users' apps, but also your users themselves. But how does it work and what can it do for you? Check it out. Today's video is sponsored by Sprocket 365. Finally, create a robust knowledge base in SharePoint. For more details, visit them today at sprocket365.com. Hey everyone, Andy here. So nice to see you and a warm welcome to the channel. On today's episode, I'm checking out Defender for Cloud Apps and one of the most important security features that comes with the Defender suite and also Microsoft 365. But exactly how does it work? And most importantly, what can it do for you? So in this session, I'm going to do a deep dive. We're going to take you through a really intense deep dive on exactly what it is, how to configure it, and most importantly, how to get the most out of it. This is, by the way, super important if you're doing certifications like SC200. It's a very, very important component. And also, if you're using AI tools like ChatGPT, it's super important to be able to protect your users from data leaking outside of your organization. And that's one of the reasons why Defender for Cloud Apps can also link in with things like information protection. So I'm going to walk you through all of that. Now, just to say that if you haven't subscribed to the channel, we'd love you to come on board. So bump the subscribe button up there, ring that bell, and come and join my learning community. And if you'd like more, then why not consider signing up to my Patreon site? Here you'll get access to full Microsoft courses, monthly Zoom calls, as well as Q&As and lots more. So details down below. Okay, so I think without any further jibber jabber, I think we'll jump in and we'll take a look at a deep dive for Defender for Cloud Apps. Here we go. So on the subject of ChatGPT, I'm going to kick off my demo here. So of course, we all know how ChatGPT works. You can ask questions and the AI will do a pretty good job at helping you out. It's pretty amazing, but it also has a slightly darker side to it as well. For example, this is the free version of ChatGPT that you can use, maybe a little bit limited, but you can still use it. But the danger really comes in is when you start adding in content from your location. So your photos, your study data. So with the free edition, of course, this all goes to help train the models. And of course, if you then click on more, you can then go in and connect to your Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, and also SharePoint. And for example, when you click onto SharePoint, it uses something called OAuth permissions. And essentially, as you can see, it's looking to gain all of these permissions. And the worst thing is, if you can potentially go and consent on behalf of your organization, potentially secret or sensitive documents could then leak into ChatGPT, which is a big no-no. So what we can do is, there's a few things that we can do. So in this session, I'm going to show you Defender for Cloud Apps. But before I do that, I just want to show you a couple of important settings in enterprise applications. This is Microsoft Entra. So I'm going to come into Entra. I'm going to come into enterprise apps. And if I scroll down, you see that we have this admin consent requests here. In fact, you've also got consent and permissions. So with consent and permissions, really, it's who can consent to these apps. So are you going to allow users to basically go ahead and click on that ChatGPT and consent for your entire organization? And essentially, this is a serious, or potentially serious, security breach here. So do not allow consent. Allow consent for verified publishers, so a little bit safer. And also let Microsoft manage yours. Now, although this is a good idea, it can automate this. Personally, again, you would want to read the documentation there. I personally would want a little bit of control. Now, depending on the sensitivity of your data, you might say, no, I don't want my users to consent, and save that. Your admin settings could then say users can request consent for apps that they are unable to consent to. And you can click onto this and yes, and you can say, are there any particular users? groups, or currently in public preview, admin roles that can do that consent as well. So selected users will receive emails for consents and so on. Now, in addition, you can also set up permission classifications. So for example, low, medium and high. So for example, low situations, you can add in permissions, and I can say, okay, I want to add in a Microsoft set of graphed permissions here. And again, which permissions would you like? So you can see that if I click onto those permissions, it says, okay, you can read the email, you can read the user's ID data to sign in, and also the user's profile. And from a low data perspective, that's pretty good. So in addition to that, you can also say what you consider high risk, medium risk, or high risk. So you might even create a policy later that says, yes, users consent in OAuth for low risk apps, but admins require high risk. Okay, so that's just one of the things that you can do. Now, I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to set this back to the default permissions and save that. That's all very good, and you can pretty much switch off those consent settings for the likes of ChatGPT. But if you want more control, what you need to do is you need to use a tool called Defender for CloudApps. So Defender for CloudApps can be found in the Defender portal, security portal. And if you've got Business Premium, or if you've got an E5 with EM&S, you get the additional Defender for CloudApps. And what this does is, first of all, I can just expand this out. The first thing it does is if I go into, for example, the Cloud App Catalog, what we have with the Cloud App Catalog is a complete list of every single Cloud App. Okay, so every single Cloud App, for example, Word Online, I can click into Word and it tells me who produced it, the company, the vendor. You can see it's got an app score of 10, which is really good. You can also click onto the security tab and you can see all of these security features are in place. So they've got a digital certificate, they've got an audit trail. It's all looking pretty good. In terms of compliance, it's ISO compliant, SOC compliant, SOX compliant, and in terms of legal, GDPR, so the European Data Directive. So it's all looking pretty nice. So in this case, for my organization, you might sanction this app. So I can click on this app is sanctioned, which means your users can use this app. So again, by just closing that down, you can now see that my app is now sanctioned. Now, you might think, well, that's a score of 10, Andy. Are there any really risky apps in my organization? So absolutely, you can click onto the app score here and you can request updates to particular apps and so on. So what I'll do now is you can also look at the risk score of the app, and you get this little slider. So for example, if I came down to 2, are there any really high risky apps? Okay, and you can see there are quite a few high risky apps. I love that. One's called Pentagon. In fact, let's have a look at that one. So you can see the risk score is 0, so that's really not good. And you can see here, it tells me a little bit about the details about the company. It also tells me that the security features, okay, they've got a digital certificate, which is not too bad, but it's missing quite a few things. In terms of compliance, it's not looking good at all, actually. And in terms of legal, for GDPR, it's not looking good whatsoever. So in this case, because it's got such a low score, you can either sanction it or unsanction it. And another thing that you can do is you can also monitor the app as well. So you can also monitor the app. And the other thing is you can also add a disclaimer to the app. So again, you can put in a risky message for your users if you want to do that. Now, in this case, I'm going to say I want to unsanction this app. So in other words, Pentagon is now blocked in my organization. You can see that's now blocked. Now, as I said, the Cloud App Catalog is continually updated with the latest apps. And so this is a great way for you to go in and see what's out there. Now, you might say, well, Andy, that's great, but can I use this tool within my organization? So absolutely, you can click on what we call the Cloud Discovery Report. And the Cloud Discovery Report here, you can run this at regular intervals. And you can see it's telling me that in this case, I've got 283 apps talking to 1,828 IP addresses, 457 users, and it's generating traffic of 2.9 gigs, of which you can zoom in and you can see that 587 megabytes is potentially risky. It also shows me what are the top app categories. So of course, storage is always going to be number one. And it also shows me the different risk levels. And you can see it shows me the most popular users and how much storage they're using. In addition, it shows me what apps has been discovered. And in this case, of course, it's Microsoft 365. OneDrive is always going to be the popular one. And it shows you where the app headquarters are located. So for example, you can see that at the moment 1% of the apps are in Russia. And if I click onto that, it will then filter the apps and show me, and I can then decide, of course, whether to block them or allow them. In addition to that, of course, I can scroll up, and if you want more details, you can then filter this. So at the moment, I can see that I've got all of these apps, but there's a little bit in red. So I'm a bit uncomfortable with that. So I can click onto this, and again, it will now filter these apps, and it will show me these are all the apps that are potentially slightly dodgy with my users here. So you can see that I've got an app score of 3. Again, I can click onto that app score, and you can see this one's not too bad. It does have an audit trail. It does have a certificate in compliance, not looking too good. So one of the things you might do here is, rather than unsanctioning it, you could click on the little ellipse here, and you could say, I want to monitor this. And you can actually monitor this this particular app over a period of time. So that's quite nice. So the other thing that we can also do is, as I said, you've got discovered apps, discovered resources, and also IP addresses. Now, if I just flip back here, I can also click onto my users. And with my users, I can audit potentially my users. I can click on a particular user here, and I can get details, and it shows me that this user has got 12 apps on his device, but potentially one risky app. So I can click into that app, and again, I can now decide, you see that's got a very kind of low score. I can then determine, okay, let's have more details about the app. So I can see the info about the app, again, the security, compliance, and most importantly, of course, I might decide to then click on the ellipse, and I might say, hey, actions, what do I want to do? Do I want to basically sanction the app or unsanction the app? And in this case, I'm actually going to block this app. And that will basically save your environment from this potential, what we call potentially malicious shadow IT within our environment. So that's the first thing then that Defender for Cloud Apps does. So Defender for Cloud Apps will not only, we've got this Cloud App Discovery, you've got the catalog. So this is looking for potentially risky apps. So in addition, you've also got OAuth apps here, and you can go in and you can see if you've got any overprivileged apps. And again, you can restrict those in exactly the same way as your Cloud App Catalog apps as well. Now, in addition, I just wanted to go in, and one of my other favorite features is this policy templates. So for example, this looks for things like impossible travel, mass deletions by a user, log on from an unknown location, and just unusual behavior. Now, in addition to these kind of templates, you can also create your own as well. So you can use these and you can create your own. So with those templates, from out of the box comes a whole series of different policies. So things like looking for ransomware activity, log on from risky IP addresses, impossible travel, mass downloads, and so on. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why would I need this type of defense? Well, if you downloaded, let's say, a 10-pin bowling app for your Android phone, why does that app need access to your camera, your contacts, your microphone? That's not right. Okay, so again, this is where this kind of protection would really come in. One of the nice things about this tool is that you can come in and, as I say, these are out of the box protections. So for example, we have one here, activity from an infrequent country, or log on from a risky IP address. So I can come into this policy itself. I can look at this in more detail and I can say, hey, okay, do I want to monitor a single activity, or am I looking to monitor a repeated activity over a period of time? And you can put in that threshold of what you consider to be acceptable or unacceptable. Now, in addition to that, you can also say, okay, I want to be alerted. I want to know that there's something going on that's not quite right. So you can send an alert to your admin or help desk here by clicking that checkbox. And one of my favorite features is you can also create a playbook, a series of automations in Power Automate, or Logic Apps as it's known in Azure. So you can create these automations. So if something's going on that doesn't look right, you will be notified immediately. Okay, so I just absolutely love these. And to be honest, these will really protect your environment. Now, you're probably thinking, Andy, if I've got other Microsoft 365 technologies, what other features do I need to be aware of? Well, if you've got things like information protection, data loss prevention policies, they all integrate with the likes of Defender for CloudApps. So if you scroll right down, you've got this option here that says System. And if I go into, let's say, Settings here, you can see that we have the settings for Defender for CloudApps. So if I go in here, and there are a few interesting settings in here that you might want to take a look at. So for example, if you want to integrate with the likes of Defender or Microsoft Sentinel, for example, you might want to bring that in. You might want to even create your own playbooks or automations, and you create your own flows for your organization. With the cloud's discovery, so with the metrics, you can set the thresholds, what you consider to be accessible or acceptable rather, and not acceptable. Now you'll notice that when I did the Cloud App Discovery report, it showed me a list of usernames. If you wanted to anonymize that, some companies don't like to see those usernames, you can go into anonymization, and that will basically hide that usernames from the reports. The other thing is, if you want to see more data, you can click onto the user enrichment option here, and that will provide even more information, which I absolutely love as well. And this is where the power of Defender for Cloud Apps really comes in, is the connected apps. It's not just for Microsoft. So for example, if I click into the app connectors here, you can see we're just at the moment looking at Microsoft 365. But hey, I can connect to any of these other connectors. There are literally tons of different connectors. So for example, Google, GitHub, Azure, of course, and what it will then do is it will then give you a list of all their apps, all their users. And again, you can also do things like link it with things like information protection. So if you've got information protection in your environment, I can link this to Microsoft Information Protection. And again, it prevents data from leaking outside of your organization. Now, one of, and maybe a slightly controversial feature is users file monitoring. So what this allows administrators to do is you can view a complete list of all the users' files. And if you see it doesn't actually let you go into the files, but it lets you see the list of the users' files. But what you can do is, based on that list and the titles, you can then go in and, let's say, for example, that looks like it's confidential data, and you can assign a confidentiality label. So I love that feature. I think it's really good. Now, in addition, I've done sessions on conditional access before. So do you want to set any restrictions with conditional access app control? So for example, you might want to block cut, copy, paste, or you don't want users to download files, let's say, onto Dropbox or Box or something like that. So definitely check out the settings for Defender for Cloud Apps. So there you have it, my deep dive into Defender for Cloud Apps. Super important at protecting apps as well as your users. Hey, listen, if you enjoyed the session, give me a big thumbs up. I hope you liked the session. And if you've got questions and comments, by all means, get those down below. Okay, that's it for this time. Really appreciate you dropping by. I'll catch you real soon. Take care.